All right, welcome back. Now it's time for our weekly mental health boost.
Yeah, today we're talking about ADHD and emotions, big emotions, more specifically how to regulate those emotions. So here with us now is our friend, Dr. Laura Saunders from Hartford Healthcare's Institute of Living. Hi, Doc.
Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. And yes, we are talking about the ability to manage your emotions. In particular, we're referring to ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but really this applies to a lot of folks who might have difficulty managing their emotions that might be part of anxiety or depression.
So specifically with ADHD, can you describe for us the symptom, what ADHD is for those of us who might not know what it is?
Yes. So it's a very commonly used acronym, right? Everyone knows what ADHD is, kind of like PTSD, but it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It actually needs to be diagnosed before age 7. So even when adults get diagnosed, the behavior needs to be tracked until before age 7. It's considered a childhood disorder. Adults can have it, obviously, but it plays out differently in adulthood than it does in childhood. It's made up of impulse control, attention, and concentration.
Isn't that interesting? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and we talked about this. We have a deeper dive on Kara's Cures if you want to go and look there, but you said it's like the conductor of the orchestra. That's often that's kind of missing in folks with ADHD, which can be great. They can be really creative and really charismatic, but when it comes to emotions, without that conductor, the orchestra kind of just plays all over the place.
Exactly. So, right. So something happens and you have this impulsive thought or feeling, and then boom, it's kind of explosive. And so learning how to manage those emotions, and so that they could be angry emotions, they could be excited emotions, they could be anything that's very intense. Learning to manage your emotional well-being and manage those impulses is really important. I mean, it's like overreaction to a minor event. So something small happens and boom, you have a huge explosive reaction. And then the people around you are like, what happened? Why are you overreacting to this? And when you do that on a regular basis, it really causes people to sort of shrink away from you.
So how do we curb those outbreaks? How do we do that? Is it through medication or?
So medication is one thing. I do like people to try skills first. There are ways to do it that, and I always talk about it in terms of like arousal level, like emotional arousal. So there's ways to do things to decrease your arousal level. It could be physical activity. It could be mindfulness meditation. It could be therapy. It could be cognitive behavioral techniques. There are ways to reduce your emotional arousal so that it's not so explosive.
So what I think is really important, too, is often we think of ADHD as just a problem at school or not being able to focus, and really raising awareness. It's becoming more, they're even talking about maybe adding this to the DSM, but that emotional dysregulation for some folks with ADHD, it's a big symptom for them. They can have these mood swings or be really, quick to anger, and it's, I guess it's not their fault. They're not a bad person. I mean, it could be. We need to think of it like a symptom, especially if we have kids who are flying off the handle all the time.
What we need to think about in these situations is how this symptom impacts their life. It impacts relationships. Okay, it impacts family members. It impacts your job. It impacts your work. Your school situation. So it really impacts major areas of your life. And if you're someone that's getting a lot of negative feedback because of your emotional dysregulation, it's going to then create this negative feedback loop and make it harder to manage. So it's finding strategies to manage it so it's not so disruptive and doesn't hinder the functioning in other areas of your life.
Let's start with some of those strategies. Develop a daily routine.
We know that structure and routine is not just important for all children and adolescents, but is really important for those individuals who have impulse control problems, poor frustration tolerance, low distress tolerance. Having some structure and routine is really critical. That doesn't mean that sometimes the routine can't change, and that might cause some disruption, and then they learn to manage it, but having as much routine as possible is really critical.
And you mentioned the meditation and mindfulness. That's something that's huge. I know we often talk about that with you. So if you're someone who's getting quick to anger, just learning how to take some breaths can really be transformative.
Yes, when you're at the height of your emotional arousal, when you're like exploding, that's probably not the time you're going to take deep breaths, right?
Right.
It's really understanding and identifying these patterns within yourself or within your children, and then helping them avert a more explosive reaction as it's starting to get worse and worse.
Catching it early.
It's like with road rage.
Yes.
Pull over, count to 10, let them go, and then you're much better off.
Yes. Right. And just finding, identifying these patterns in your children or in your friends and spouses and siblings, really looking at how this behavior can have a negative impact. But I really do like to emphasize, and Carrie, you're always great about this, really all the beautiful aspects of someone who might have an attentional disorder, their creativity, their energy, they're the ones willing to take risks that many of us are not willing to take. So we really want to appreciate, but we want people to be functional and not destroy the relationships in their lives.
Terrific.
Absolutely.
Right.
Bob Ballard said he probably wouldn't have found the Titanic if he didn't have a brain like that. But we gotta take the good with the bad. So learning to, I think we can all use a little emotional regulation. Thank you, Dr. Saunders. We do take a deeper dive on the Kara's Cures podcast if you want to listen. Really, really some great information on there. So thanks so much, Dr. Saunders.
Have a great day.
All right, coming up next, are you searching for something new to read? We've got some great suggestions.
Yeah, our first assignment for our Great Day Connecticut Book Club. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, and have you ever thought about solar panels?
The experts from Synergy Smart Homes are here. They're going to take us step by step through a process.
Yeah, the Great Day Connecticut. We'll be right back. Stay with us.